determining where to invest in your research or your corporate spending on research has to be aligned with the objectives of the firm. And I think that's really important, to try and invest in something that is just so far removed from what you do or where you believe that there should be change. I would say you need to really consider that. To what extent is this aligned with what we do and what we believe in? Is it aligned with our values? Then, because the needs are really, they are large and there are many needs, and there are many areas where one requires research work. And there often are trendy subjects or topics, and people want to engage in those trendy topics. Or there might be key opportunities within a policy space. Something is changing. For example, early child development at the moment, there's a lot of fluidity and uncertainty around that space, and so it becomes an obvious place to try and put funding. Or the move towards early grade reading, and that becomes a place to put funding, where there's an increased priority on early learning particularly. I think it really requires some collaboration though. As a corporate, are you actually aware of what projects are actually happening? And to what extent is that work going to fill a gap? Is it going to augment a current dialogue? Is it aligned with your research objectives? And right now, I mean, obviously one of the key areas is early learning. I think there's a lot of work that can be done in that area, but there's also a real temptation to not engage with other stakeholders or funders, and you land up duplicating the research efforts, and there are only so many people who can do the work. And so we find that even at present, there's a bit of a conflict at the moment, because there are a number of funders who want to fund the same amount of work, and we're trying to work out how to collaboratively bring all those people together. It's possible, and you can land up with actually a much better outcome at the end, but it requires a lot of dialogue, conversation, communication, and as well as being really open-handed, that not being territorial about a certain space. This is our space, and we're not going to engage with others or let them into that space. If really one can work collaboratively together, and particularly when it comes to pooling your funds, because good research is often expensive, and that's often it's really underappreciated, is how much resource is required for research, and doing it ethically. That's really important. Generally, fieldwork companies will have to really undercut, and then they don't really care for their field workers, or they compromise their safety. For example, that's just one area where there's a responsibility to ensure that there's effective funds and that things are done well and done ethically.